Hey guys, my name is Alex Lockhammer, owner of Mobile Bike Repair North County here in San Diego. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and assembly of the Goat e-bike's Billy Goat. Although this is the Billy Goat model, the process is the same for all the Goat e-bikes. So aside from all the tools, you will just need a pair of scissors just to cut out all the packaging. Probably a heavy duty pair of scissors since these zip ties are pretty big, but basically just cut away until all the packaging is gone. Just be careful not to scratch the bike while cutting away any of the packaging. With e-bikes like these, the most common repairs that are needed are flat tire repairs, so replace of the inner tube, along with brake pads. Other than that, these bikes are usually very reliable, and by maintaining a stable PSI in the tires, you can really prevent a lot of flats. I used to be a big mountain biker myself, and I put an ad out to do bike repairs when I couldn't get a job during COVID, and then it eventually just turned into all e-bike repairs because all the kids nowadays just have e-bikes. Now that you got your bike all out of the box and the packaging all taken off, you will see that we have everything laid out here that comes in the box. So you have your toolkit right here with the assortment of Allen keys, a few wrenches, some tire levers in here. You have the pegs that we'll be installing in a little bit. In this box that came with the tools, we have the charger, a very heavy duty bike lock, a keychain, and the pedals that we'll be putting on the bike. Over here we have the rear view mirrors, two of them, one for each side of the bike, which is cool. We have the blinkers that we'll be installing. These are clamps for the light. Here's our front wheel axle. Last but not least, we have the fender and the front light. Now, after we got all of our tools and accessories out, we're going to take our number 6 Allen key, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the handlebar stem. Just loosen all these up, and then we can take it all apart. Now, once you got that off, you're going to want to take the handlebars. And this is important, you're going to want to make sure that the handlebars are oriented properly. So not like that, twist it around. So basically what I mean by oriented properly is you want all the cables in front of the handlebars. A mistake I see when people assemble the e-bikes themselves is they will somehow get the cables behind the handlebars, and you do not want that. So you want everything right here in front, that way there's no stretching of the cables or anything. Now once you have the handlebars on top, you'll put the cap right here. And then you'll take one bolt at a time and just make sure you thread by hand, making sure we don't cross thread anything. Cross threading is when you thread the bolt in, not on the threads that were designed for them to go into. So basically when that happens, you are making new threads, and it can be unsafe because then the bolt can then slip out of the threads when you don't want them to. And once they're all on there, you want to make sure that they're aligned. You have some little notches right here that you can kind of align it with. Just put in the middle, set your height, and then most importantly is there's going to be a gap on each side of the stem. You kind of want that gap to be even. You want there to be an even spacing on both sides. So what is that, about maybe a 1/4 inch on each side? So we won't tighten the front down all the way. We'll tighten it a little bit, and then we'll also go and tighten the back a little bit. Kind of just getting an even spacing throughout the entire thing. Cool, and before you tighten it down all the way, you also want to make sure that you get it into the angle that you want it to. This is pretty good. You want it to be almost upright with maybe a slight tilt towards the seat. And then we will tighten them down. And like I said, don't tighten one down all the way. I would just do one snug, move on to the one across, make sure that they're snug, and then do it in a cross pattern. So now that the bike is standing up like this and we're able to get the handlebars on, I would refrain from putting the wheel on because right now we have the bike in a nice stand-up position, nice and easy for us to access the cranks to put the pedals on, and we can now put the lights on without the bike tilting to the side. So I would say let's do the wheel last. Now for this next step, we're just gonna do the pegs. So when we're deciding which side the pegs go on, the pegs flip up. They don't flip down. So we're gonna have them flip up. So this one will go on the left side of the bike if it's facing forward. So basically we're gonna unscrew the bolt that comes on it, put it in from right here, and then we can make this flat and then just gently thread it together, making sure you're not cross threading. Once you got it somewhat tight, you are going to take the wrench and get it back there behind the nut that is behind here, and then you can just kind of tighten it down. All right, now the peg will flip up instead of down. All right, and now for the headlight that we'll be putting on next, we're going to put it on right here. But first, things might not be perfectly aligned, so we're just gonna make sure we'll just wiggle this back and forth until we get it aligned with the other side. Now, once you got everything aligned, you will take your number 5mm Allen key and remove the bolts from the headlight assembly. Once those are removed, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that the cables are behind the light. You will line the light up in the holes of the brackets, and then you can just do one at a time. So we'll do this side first. Line it up, and like always, try not to cross stretch, just be gentle and do it by hand first. And once you got those threaded, you can take the other side, bend it in, and then same as before, just start threading it. So now that we got it all threaded on both sides, we can tighten them up. Now to tighten these up, you're gonna grab the number 8 wrench out of the toolkit, and you'll put the wrench on the nut back there, and then you'll just tighten the bolts. No need to over tighten, just do it until snug. And same for the bottom. Awesome, and then we'll repeat the process on the other side. After the light, we're going to be installing the blinkers. So we'll come over here, and we just want to make sure we put the blinkers on so that they're facing outwards towards the front of the bike. So we're going to loosen the nut on this, pull it off, feed the wire through the hole, and then once we do that, we just want to get this out of the way and put the nut behind it. Feed the nut back on to the wire. And then just kind of twist it on there. So while we're putting on these turn signals, we just want to make sure that this light right here is facing down at the ground, so that at night when you're using the bike, it will light up and it's just pointing at the ground. So now, here's an important step, is we're gonna take our blinker wires and our headlight wire, and you're just going to match them up with the colors on the wiring harness. So the green will go to green and make sure that the arrows are facing each other. That way we won't ruin any of the prongs inside. And then we will match orange to orange. And if you do this wrong, all you will notice is that your left-hand blinker will go right. And if that's the case, you will just switch the plugs from this orange to the other orange. So pretty straightforward. So next we're going to be installing the pedals on the bike. So basically you'll just take the scissors that you had before and just cut off the plastic. And sometimes the pedals will have a right and left, but these don't. So basically all you'll do is you're gonna wanna come over to the bike, and the way I like to do it is I will line them up and then just move the cranks backwards and see if it threads. You definitely don't want to force it. So this one obviously isn't the right one, so it must be this one. So once I have it threaded a little bit, I just hold it right here, do this until it's nice and tight. Now once you got the pedals snug on there, you'll just take your wrench and just tighten them down. There we go. Yes, this is the same 15 mil wrench that we used for the blinker lights. All right, now we're going to be installing the fender. And for the fender, the tools we will be using is the number 10 wrench that comes in the toolkit, along with the number 5 and 4 Allen key. Basically, we're just gonna come down here, take our wrench and our number 5, and as you hold the nut with the wrench, you're just gonna unscrew the bolt. And that comes out. There's no specific orientation. Usually I just put the fender on the back of the fork stay, and then put that through and just thread the nut, and then I'll tighten it down a little bit, but not all the way. Once you get it almost snug, I like to kind of shimmy it up. We want the fender up as far as we can, that way it's less likely to rub on the tire once we get the wheel on. Now with that, we're not going to need our number 5 or 10, and we're just going to loosen these bolts right here on the fork. There's one on each side, and then once you do that, we'll just line up the fender with the holes, and like always, try to thread by hand first. Might be a little difficult. And once you got them threaded in just a little bit, you can take your Allen key and just tighten them down. Now for the next step, we're going to be putting on the rear view mirrors. We're going to take out these brackets that come in this little bag right here, along with our smallest wrench, which is the number 8. And we're basically just going to undo the bolts on here, loosen them up. Once you have it taken apart, you're just going to attach it to the handlebar and then thread it together. I usually like to get it closest to the controls as possible, just so that you have some extra handlebar room. Very cool. Now once you have the brackets installed, we are going to remove the mirrors from packaging, along with the bolts and washers that we will need. Take off the cap off of the top of the mirror. Over here, put one of your lock washers over the bolt. Put it on there and just tighten by hand. And then for this one, we will be using, it looks like the number 6 Allen key. Once you have it kind of snug, you can move the mirror around until you have it aligned the way you'd like it. All right, now for this next step, we're going to be doing the last thing for this bike assembly, and we're going to be putting the wheel on. So we'll need the 15-13 wrench, and we're just going to loosen these nuts down here. You don't need any of this stuff, so you can just kick it out of the way. And then you will also need the axle. So important thing about the axle is these little notches go on the outsides of the fork. And there's 2 different size washers if you can see. So for these spacers, the bigger spacer is going to go on the non-brake side. So it will basically align like this. And you will see once you get the wheel on, because otherwise the wheel will not go on properly. So big spacer on the left and small on the right. And then before we do all this, we're going to want to take out this spacer inside of the brakes. Now, once we have this spacer out of the brakes, you want to make sure not to pull the brake lever for the front, because if we do that, then we will be compressing the pistons in there, and we don't want them to fall out and then lose the hydraulic fluid. Otherwise, you'll need a brake bleed. So once that's out, just try not to touch the brakes. And then for the next step, there's 2 ways of doing this. We can either flip the bike upside down. If you do that, I advise you to do the mirrors last, because we don't want to accidentally break the mirrors, or we could just bend them down like that. Or the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to have somebody help me, and we're just going to lift up the bike. I'm going to align the wheel in there and just slide it right. So we're just going to loosen this and then get this wheel out of the way. And basically, I'll have my friend come over and help lift the bike up, and we can just pull that out. And while your friend has the bike lifted up, we're going to take the axle, remove one side, and the side with the big spacer is going to go on the side with no brake rotor. So it's going to go like this. And once it's like that, we'll put the spacer on first, and then the notch washer, and then the washer on the very end. And then we can just tighten it on just a little bit. And then, like I said, we want the washers to be on the outside of the fork. So now we will just line it up with the wheel. And then I'll have my friend lower the wheel just a little bit. Okay, we'll take off the bolts. Once it's aligned with the brake, it should slide right in. All right, now you can feel that's in place. So we will just kind of straighten the axle out. Put on our notch washer, flat washer, and then our bolts. And then same on the other side. So notch washer, and then we will take our number 15 and just tighten it up. Yeah, with the help of a friend to lift up the front of the bike for you, I would recommend that. It just makes it much easier than flipping it upside down and possibly damaging any of the controls on the handlebars. But yeah, now we have the front wheel on and the bike is fully assembled. Now that the bike is completely assembled, we'll want to just do a little safety check of everything first. We'll just want to come to the brakes, feel the brakes. They feel nice and tight. They're working. And after you feel that those feel good, you'll want to make sure that your headset is tightened. So we'll take this little rubber piece off, grab our number 5, and just make sure that is snug. This one is already snug, straight from the box, so we don't have to worry about it. And yeah, and then also make sure everything else looks good, make sure nothing looks loose, light feels good, blinkers look good, and then all that's left to do is take off the keys and start it. So let's do that. All right, so now we got the key, we can put it into the keyhole, turn it on, and just like most e-bikes, they should come with a little bit of charge, so we'll hold the on button. And as you can see, it's starting right up. Okay, so now that the bike is on, we'll want to check to make sure our hazards and blinkers work. So we'll do hazard first. Yep, they're both signaling. Turn them off, do the left turn signal, left is on, and right. And like I said before, earlier in the video, if you do the left turn signal and the right turns on, and then vice versa, if you do the right and the left turns on, all that means is that you just accidentally plugged in the wrong cables together. So you'll just undo the 2 orange ones and just plug it into the other orange one. And it's as simple as that. All right, so once you discover the key for the throttle, and there's also another set of keys, and that's for the battery. So to remove the battery, we just put the key in, we'll rotate it, and it should just pop right out. So that's how you take the battery out. There's really no need to take the battery out because you can charge the battery while it's already on the bike. All right, so if you do have the battery out, the way to get it back in, you want to line up this bottom part right in here. So we'll line that up in there and then just clip it right back in, and then boom, now the battery's back in. And then just to make sure that it's all on, you can click the button right here in the middle to see that there's some charge. Looks like there's about 50%. Turn the bike back on and make sure it still turns on, which it does. Awesome. So last but not least, like I said earlier in the video, the number 1 cause of flat tires is not running the proper PSI in the tires. So in the manual, we see that it ranges from between 25 and 30 PSI in the tires. So what we'll do is we'll come over to the tire, remove the cap, plug our pump in, and I just say we meet in the middle and go to about 27. All right, and we'll just repeat the same process for the back, and you will be all set and ready to ride your new GOAT e-bike. Now, once you have the bike all set up and ready and you take it for your first ride, you might notice that the brakes rub a little bit. That's completely normal. I wouldn't worry about it at all. Take it on a few rides, and after a couple of days, if it doesn't go away, then maybe contact us. But we listened to you guys. We know you guys wanted to see an unboxing video and tutorial, so that's what we did here. And if there's anything else you guys want to see, just leave a comment below. For the price and for any other bike on the market, this bike is far beyond anything you get for the price. You get quad piston brakes, which you don't see on almost any other bike. So quad piston meaning that they're just 2 times more powerful than what you usually get of the 2 piston brakes. And you get air suspension front and rear, which we rarely ever see on any other bike at this price range.